So I think we can start. So hi guys, my name is Ivy Lobo, the DSC lead, Moi University. I'm not sure if Leila is able to talk. Okay, she just left. So welcome to today's session, version control with Git and Github. So today, before we start our session, I have a special guest. His name is Kelvin Okundi. Kelvin Okundi is the Github Campus Expert for Kenya. So maybe he can introduce himself and tell us about what GitHub Campus Expert is, what he does, and what's in store for us. So, Kelvin.
Okay. So my name is Kelvin. I'm a GitHub Campus Expert for JQuat. So I'm also I work with a company known as Moringa School, teaching people how to code. Yeah. So so basically, what we do at GitHub is at GitHub Campus Expert, it's just a group of passionate community students. So I'm the campus expert for currently in East, Central, and Southern Africa. So if you're interested to join, to apply, you can also join us. So the role of GitHub Campus Expert is to help students amplify their voices in the community and also to help students grow their profession while in school. So if you feel that this is something that you want to be part of, you can apply to join the program. So you can just go to the Campus Expert site, then apply. Yeah, so it comes with a lot of good perks. So you can get swag for your events, you can get finances for your events, you also get a chance to attend all GitHub events, that is GitHub Universe paid by GitHub. So yeah, so it's a very good community. So if you're interested, you can also apply to join the Campus Experts program. Yeah. So if you want to organize an event that you want to be sponsored by the Campus Experts program, so for now I'm the point man in this region, so you can reach out to me, then I can help you set up with the swag, financing and all that. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to like hearing what the speaker has in store for us. Yeah, I'm also a very big enthusiast of version control. Yeah, so thanks, Ivy.
You're welcome. So, Kelvin, maybe you can drop the links on how we can apply and also your handles so we can contact you. So maybe you can use the chat section to drop the links and your Twitter handle maybe.
Okay.
So yeah.
So let me share my LinkedIn because I'm sure that is where I will reply. Yeah.
Okay. And also, Kelvin, we were to award the best mentees for our program. So we have two guys who we think have really worked hard this week, and we thought of our appreciating the efforts. So maybe you can tell us what you can give them now that we are here, what you can award them.
Okay, so I currently have like lots of stickers. I don't know if I should show you guys, but I don't. So I have quite a lot of things. I have some GitHub cheat sheets here, some stickers, what else? Some USB cables, a lot of stuff. So I can probably share with Ivy, but also I can see. So that is what I have right now. But there's another package that is incoming that contains a bag. So they can each of them like get a GitHub bag. I think Ivy have shared images of that. It's quite far from me. I could have shown it. So I can get some good GitHub education bags to you guys. Yeah.
Okay, so we have two guys. That is Karen Gala and Brian Kariuki. So I think you can organize the bags for them, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so Karen Gala and Brian Kariuki, congrats and kindly keep in touch with me. And we'll know how you'll get your swags. So yeah, I think I can hand over the session to Ian Joroge so that he can introduce our today's speaker. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to to Ivy, and congratulations to Brian and Karendala. So, bila kuwastia time, I want just to jump to our topic of today. So, because of the as part of the mentorship program, we'll be having these weekly, mostly on the weekend, technical sessions that we'll have a topic to go through, and as a first thing, we opted to go for version control because we'll be using version control to do our tasks, our assignments, and our final project. So I want now just to invite our facilitator of the day is by the name Bernard Kungu. Bernard Kungu is a student at JQuat and a passionate of software engineering and a tech enthusiast. So without, I now want to bring upon to you.
Okay, as you have been told by Mr. Ian, I'm a software developer, and I appreciate mentoring Rives in tech. I'm also a student at JQuat, that is Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. Currently, I'm undertaking business information technology. That's ground. That's okay. My business, the business and the technology part. That's my ground. So to know more about me, you can have my Twitter handle, which is twitter.com Junior. You can have my link there. You can have my GitHub link there, which is which is github.com Junior. I hope you can see it well. So let us dive into our topic of the day, which is version control. Learn more about version control system with Git and Github. I hope you have ever heard of versioning of applications, software, and all that. And you ask yourself, how is the versioning and the change of an each application in terms of code happen to be monitored or to be controlled? So that's the topic of the day, which is more interesting as far as tech is concerned. So we'll just ask ourselves, what is version control? Basically, it's a system that records change over time, so you can recall specific function. So you have a system, you have an application, you've developed it on your machine, and you are like, okay, I have to change this feature, I have to change this stuff here and there on your files. So you are like, I have changed it. So all that I can basically say it's a system. It looks like a system where you are changing a file over time, so that you can specific version of data. For example, you have a web app you have developed. You want to add an additional feature. For example, you have decided to add an feature. So to determine your previous version, which you have that feature, and the current application of the system, all that version control that's where version control comes in, basically. So I don't think whether you're understanding, but around what I'm saying. So we'll just ask ourselves, why do we need a version control in development? Version control has a lot of benefit or importance. You might be like, okay, you have a certain style in your application that you decide on your version 1 of your application has style.css. That's version 1, style of version 1 of your, and you decide, okay, I have a certain feature on a certain UI on our application, and you're like, okay, let me change to style 2. So like I have seen a certain another feature needs a change, and you're like, okay, let me change to style 3. In that case, I guess okay, your version is controlled in that way. You are like, you have version 1 of your application, version 2 of your application, version 3 of your application. So you'll be like having a series of versions on your application, a steps of development on your application, which is determined by the changes you have made over. So benefits of version control, we look at the backup and restore. When you adapt version control in development, in any development you are doing on any application, the power of backing up your application, and you can restore it later in case of any need. For example, you have a web app. You are developing it on your local machine. So in case of any need of such application, you'll be like, okay, let me go to my machine and start developing. But with version control, you can have a backup of your application and have the application later onto another machine if you apply version control. The second one, we have a synchronization with multiple computers. That's another crucial advantage of version control. You'll be like, okay, I need this computer. I need another version to another computer. So you'll be like, your application is developed on different computers in time of need also. So number 3, about working in team. I guess you have ever heard of tech. Most of the cases, developing a big application takes you time, needs more refactoring, and you're like, you have all the skills needed to develop the whole application. So you're like, okay, let me get a team which we will collaborate to the version. So that's where version control comes in and takes part of agile teams. That's where the power of agility comes in by the help of version control. Okay, we have safely create and test new features. You are like, okay, You'll create a new feature today and test it, and that's how version control helps us in terms of creating new features, testing new features as you develop your application. So your version keeps on changing. And then another Rust but advantage of using version control, it's ownership. You have the credits, or you have of the application you are developing. You own that application. If you have decided to develop a web application or an Android application, you have that to have different you have the to be known you are the owner of that. Again, in case of any issue on an application, you have the blame. For example, let us take an example of a WhatsApp. You have okay, the owner of WhatsApp, you already know who is the owner. That is Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg has the blame in case of a WhatsApp has problems or keeps on buffering. Also, he has that blame to be blamed for that application. So it is the benefits of version control. You have you have the benefit of backup and restore, synchronizing with multiple computers, working in teams, safely create, test new features, ownership. He has the credits. You have the blame. So let's go on. Okay. You might wonder how version control is used in an industry, and you're like, you have had a new term in an industry or a company talking about version control, and you don't know its jargon or terms used in version control. So, okay, we have an industry jargon in terms of version control is concerned. We have repository, that is repo. You ever heard of repo, repository? So repository is where it's a database where files are stored. It's a database storage where files are stored. You understand this later as we talk about Git and Github. Then we have the server, the computer storing the repository. You ever heard of server? Server is it's a computer. It's a computer somewhere which stores the files also. You have ever heard of client who have done business? You have had a client, yeah. So in terms of version control, we have a client. The term client. This is the computer connected to the repository. So your computer connects to this is stored. It's connected to a server. Then we have a working copy or local directory of files. That's a local. For example, I have an application on my machine, and there is that directory where the application stays. So that's the working that of files of my. It's a working copy basically. So the other one we have trunk or main. This is the master location for code in the repository. Master location for code in the repository. Then we have head, the latest revision in the repository. Okay, how the repository keeps on changing. The changes. The initial change. Okay, not the initial. It's the current changes. That's the head in that repository. How has it been revised or changed also? So we have another one, the basic actions done in version control. Version control, it's a wide cloud. It's a wide crowd. So we have actions which is add, checking, checkout, ignore, revert, update, or synchronization. So when we talk about add, it's like you place a file at a version control. If you have been working with GitHub or Git at GitHub, you have ever heard of the term add. For those who are new buyers here, you'll understand later. So the other term is checking, say local changes to the repo. You said local. The repo is found in the server where the repo is located. Say when you does checking, basically you just set the local changes you have made on your computer to that repo that you have saved on a certain server. Checkout, download from a repo to your working copy. You get the changes. For example, in collaboration, you find a certain person collaborated, you pushed the owner of the application, merges the changes that have been made by another person. So you yourself, you have not, you have the initial application. So you are like, okay, I want to change this to the current changes that have been made. You just check out to your working copy of that application on your machine. So we have ignore, arouse files to exist in your working copy, but not in the repo. Arouse files in your working copy, but not in. You're like, okay, to push this to the server. I don't want to push this file to the server. You just, an action that you'll have to make is just ignore that file. Then we have revert. You just throw away your working copy and restore the rest revision. You just like erase the initial application, the initial version of the application. So the last revision, that's the current revision of the application. So we have update and synchronization. Update your working copy to the latest version, revision. That's update. You have an application on GitHub. You want to update. You just do update. You just see how we do update. And that is all about version control. Then we have advanced actions in version control. We have differentiate, we have change, and all that is specific modification to a document. It's a change, it's a modification in file. We have branch, duplicate copy of code used for feature development. For example, you have a certain repository, and then you have another repository So in this case, the repo is stored in a server and in a folder called a branch. Let me call it a folder. Call it a branch. So you'll be like, you have a certain branch named this name, and a certain branch named another name. So you'll be like, okay, you have a copy of code used for feature development. You have a different copy on that repository. You have 2 or more branches of the same repo. Then we have merge. Merge integrates changes from 2 different branches. You have 2 different branches, or 3, or depending on how your development is made. So you're like, you want to merge this repo with another repo. So you just like, okay, you just merge the 2 repository. If you have 2 repository, you want to merge this repo to the second repo to become the same, or to change a certain to integrate or to make changes on both repository. The other one is conflicts, inability to reconcile changes to a document. You are like, okay, I want to change this repository. I want to change this repository or file. That is, you want to make changes to a file, but you find the changes you are trying to make, it is an error, or it makes you unable to change this. So what do we call that? We call a conflict between the file and the changes you're making. The other one we have resolve. You'll see about all this when we come to the practical session. Then we have resolve. Manual fixing of the conflicted document changes. This is where you resolve the conflicts, all the conflicts that are appearing when you try to change a certain file also. Then we have rocking, prevents other developers from making changes. This is where you rock your repository. You either make it private for other developers not to interfere with your application or in a certain repository. Okay. Okay, we have talked about checking version 1, 2, then version 3. Then have check out all that you check out, and then you check in. Then we have change. Changes, these are the changes you have made. Okay, you have the change here, the difference between the changes. You have the current, okay, the initial version of your application, current changes you have made to that application. Branch. Branch, I've said it's a certain folder. It's a kind of a certain folder contained in a repository. Then you may have different branches in that repository. You keep on changing the versions. We have merge. Merge, this is where you merge different branches, or you're like, you have changed this branch, you have changes for this branch, then you want to merge to another branch to apply the changes you have made to the first branch. Then you have the conflicts. The conflicts mostly in GitHub or in Git, the conflicts may be different. It depends on how you're pushing the changes. Then you just, if you have conflicts, don't panic. You just do, you resolve either manually or in the applicable way of your. Then let us come to choices you can have when doing version control. Version control, it's a okay. Let it call a wide ground in development, because you may have different choices when managing your application or your code. There are many different choices you can make. You have Apache sub. This is used by the Apache Foundation. Then we have Git. Git, mostly people nowadays, they use Git. Why? Because Git, it enables an industry or a person to control his or her project from small to the largest. You have that ability to control your version, your application version from the largest project to the from the smallest project to the largest. You have that ability. Then we have Azure DevOps Server. This is mostly, as it sounds, it is a Microsoft. It's a Microsoft version control server. We have Mercurial. We have different types of versions. You can explore on that, the different types of versions servers found in the world. Then let us dive into now controlling our version using Git. Let us ask ourselves, what are Git and GitHub? What is Git and GitHub? Is Git and GitHub same? Okay, I don't think it's same, no, because what is Git? Git is one of the most widely used distributed version control, that is VCS, or version control system. This source project and was by Rina Stovards, who is our beloved developer, known developer in the world. He developed Linux. As the name sounds, Linux, he developed Linux. So why use Git? As we have heard, the Git is a tool that we use to control our version. So why use Git? We store revisions history in just. Then you can rewind to any revision in the project. You can you can get back to the initial version of your application and try to revise your progress. The versioning of, then you have the ability to work on new features without interference of the main code base. You have the initial code base that you had. You work on new features. So your main, call it master code base also. It depends on how. Okay, to the default we call it master. So why use Git? Again, you have the ability to collaborate. You have the ability to collaborate on a certain project with other programmers or developers. And what is GitHub? Ask yourself. So GitHub, it's an online service that hosts our project, share our code with other developers. Developers can download the project and work on them. You can download from GitHub a certain project you had pushed or from okay, for example, I have a certain project on my GitHub account, and a certain person has that ability to download it and work on it. That is version control comes in when you're dealing with Git and GitHub. And Git basic concepts. We are going to have a know on the Git basic concepts. We have Git repository. The folder where your project is stored is a repository, and if it has a .git folder, then it's Git repository. .git folder, you are like you have a project. If that project folder has a .git folder in it, then we call that a Git repository. And in your machine, if it the a such repository, we call it a local Git repository because it has not been pushed to the server. Then we have commit. The commit command is used to save changes to local repository. The commit command is used to save changes to local repository. For example, you have that project on your local machine. Okay, you have done some changes to that project. So you're like, okay, how do I commit or how do I change a local repository with the changes I have made to the local from the local on the local project. So you're like, to do so, you have to commit. So there are those commands. We just understand after a session of practical. Then you have the stages that you undergo when doing some changes on your Git repository or on your projects, basically on your project. Changed files not committed. That is, you have modified. You have the stage of modification. You have changed files, but they are not committed. They are called modified files. Then we have you go at staging. You have to add any changed files to staging that you want to commit. You have to stage the changes, or you have to stage the that you want to commit. Then there is this another stage called commit. This is where you now to your local repository. Any staging area are added to the commit where we make one. Any files in the staging area are added to the commit. We make when we make one, or when we make a certain change. We have basic version control terminology. We have seen okay, in GitHub, we will basically use all this kind of terminology we are talking about. We have branch. I've explained there earlier what a branch is. A parallel copy of the main code having additional modification. And then you have the term push. You upload committed changes. You have committed changes to your local repository. Now, this is the time when you apply a push command. You just push, you just said, or you just save the commits to the repository on the server. Then you download. Then we have pull term. The term pull just spread where you're like, okay, I want to download this repository. How do I do? A pull is a command mostly used in GitHub, Git and GitHub. So you just download changes from remote. You have that. You have that on the server. You just pull to the server to your local machine. That is pull. Then you have fork. Mostly we do this fork. We do use the collaboration is where you just collaborate with other developers. The repository which stores the copy of the main code base. The main, for example, I have a project here. That's the main. Let us call it main code base. Then there is another developer who comes in and wants to collaborate on this project of mine. And for it to be able to collaborate, he will be like, okay, he'll just fork, then pull. Okay, you either you have forked, yeah. So you'll be like, for it to be in the machine, you'll be like, for it to be in the on your machine, for it to put on your machine that forked repository, you'll have to pull or download it to your code. That's code forking. You'll study it later. Then we have basic Git commands. You have Git init, Git and make a Git repository. Then we have Git rm, that is Git remove. Git remove file, erase the file from your working directory. Then you have Git status, gives you the status on your local branch. Git add adds the file to staging area. Git commit to commit the changes, the stage. Now we have Git clone. This is where you either okay, Git clone is where you download the repository from GitHub to your system. But it's different from Git pull. Git pull is different from Git clone. Clone is where you download direct from the repository. But Git pull, you just create a repository, or you already have a repository on your machine. Then you pull the project from the GitHub. Then you have Git push, sends local files to remote branch. You just save. It's just saving a local file or a local project to a remote to a certain branch of a certain repository on your GitHub. Then we have Git branch, local branches, and can create a new branch. This is a command where you list all the branches. You can also create a new branch using this command, git branch. You can also delete using the git branch command, adding some params after git branch, blah, blah, blah. Then you have git merge to merge branches together. This is a command where you merge this branch and another, merge it together. You merge the changes made. Then we have a practical session. Okay, so with that explanation all knowing about Git and GitHub, so we come into a practical we will just get started. So you'll be like, first you have to know how to create a GitHub account creation. Then we go to Git. Then you have to use basic Git commands. Basically, we will not use all of time. So we have GitHub walkthrough without basic Git commands. This is where you interact with the CRI. You are okay. We just understand. Then we have we'll discuss about collaboration on GitHub. This is where you collaborate with other developers on certain projects. Then okay. What we'll do is that we will have to understand how to create an account.
So as we wait for our speaker to come back, so maybe Kelvin Okundi can take us through how to access the GitHub Student Pack, because it will be an essential tool for us in our learning journey and also in getting the best of what GitHub has for us. So maybe Kelvin Okundi can just in a few minutes, as we wait for our speaker, take us through how to access GitHub Student Pack.
Thank you. So maybe first to answer a question by Regan, a folder in your computer is a directory, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so Regan, once you start working with Git, then you say Git init inside that folder, then it becomes a Git repository, just as Timothy was saying. Sorry. Giceha, okay, I've forgotten the name. Let me just, yeah. So let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to go to my GitHub account. Then I'm going to, so first to start with, I'm going to explain to you what the GitHub Education Pack is. So you might not have enough money to buy some of the tools that you need. So for example, you want to use IntelliJ, for example, to code. So you're being taught Java and you want to use the IntelliJ IDE and you want to use the professional license. So the professional license goes for something around, it's a lot of money. So basically what GitHub Education Pack is, it's a pack for students in universities where you get discounts, or it's actually not discounts. You get like more of free versions of apps in a premium way. So if we go to, for example, GitHub Education Pack, yeah. So yeah, GitHub Student Education Pack. So with this pack, you can do a lot of things, and I'm going to show you even with my account. So here are the tools that you get. So I can take you through some of that I've used. So GitHub Pro. So if you go to my, for example, if you go to my GitHub account, I have like a GitHub Pro badge. So I don't know what that actually does, but I have a GitHub Pro badge because I'm using the premium version of GitHub. Then you also get access to IntelliJ. So you get a free subscription that you renew annually. So this one, I've been using it for a while. So you get PyCharm if you want to work with Python, you get WebStorm if you want to work with JavaScript, and you get a premium version. So there's a community version and a premium version. So instead of paying for it, you get it for free. So you also get free 6 months on Educative. So Educative is what I personally used to like level up a lot when I wanted to apply to a first job. So it's a very good site. Then another thing is also Front-End Master. So you get 6 months of Front-End Masters. So if you want to look at Front-End Masters, it's basically a site that is specialized on like giving you some very good front-end skills. So where you get talks from very awesome people. So for example, let me log in with this account. Okay, it's just gonna take a while. So if I log into that account, for example, so you can see, so for example, so these talks are for free when you are a student, but there's a premium version. You have to pay for it. So there are many perks, there are many things that you get as a student. You can also apply to be a campus expert. You get Atom. You get it's a lot of free stuff. You get type form if you want to like have very good forms. Then you can also get Heroku. So Heroku is where like you can deploy your sites, especially if you're working as a student with ease. So so you get like a free dyno on Heroku. Can talk about it on another day. So as you can see, it's a long list, even on DigitalOcean. So the question is, how do I activate it? So if you want to activate it, the first thing is you must have a student email. But then I know that in Moi, there's some students who don't have student emails. So I can help in that part. I can get your emails and a copy of your school IDs, then send them to the GitHub education team. So once you do that, then it's just as simple as that. So for me, if I click on get my pack, then it will redirect me straight to like the things that I can redeem. So you can see it will just tell me connect your GitHub account and all that. So it's a very awesome pack, especially if you're learning to code. You can get access to tools such as Frontend Masters, 3 months of data camp. Yeah, so I will talk with the leads. Then you guys, since I understand you don't have school emails, so if you have a school email, maybe you're not from a university, what to do is just to go to this site. Then if you click on redeeming your student developer pack, it will redirect you to a page where you will enter your university, then send a copy of your ID. Within 1 day, you will be in. So you'll get very awesome tools that you'll always be using. So in case you have any blocker like redeeming these, just reach out to me. That is part of my work. I will help you. In case you don't understand what some of the tools do, reach out to me. We can go through it and we can understand what they are used to, like ensure that you have a good developer experience. Yeah.
So okay, thank you, Kelvin, for that. Also, most of us don't have emails, and we also don't have student IDs. But there's a guide on how to get a school email. I think Cliff has the PDF. He'll share it in the group, so you guys can get school emails to redeem the pack.
Yeah, so if you don't get a school email, what you can do is you can even send me a transcript if you don't, like something to prove that you are still in school. That is all is needed. Something to prove. If you have any document, it can be a transcript. That is what like we need to like facilitate. Because for me, when I was also applying, I didn't have a student ID. My student ID got lost the moment I received it that evening in school, and I've never replaced it. What I did is I just attached my transcript to show that I'm a student. But then if you don't have but then I had a student email. So if you don't, but I will get in touch with Pablo, who is PM. Then I will ask him what we can do in those cases. But most probably, I think he'll just tell me to like get a list of you guys. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So is our speaker back? I don't think so. So if there's any question on what was presented or on what Kelvin has presented, so if you want to ask a question, kindly just raise your hand in the DM in the chat section, and I can give you a chance to talk or ask your question. David is asking, will the session be available on YouTube? Yes, the recording will be available on YouTube. We'll share the link later on in the day or tomorrow. If there are no more questions, I'll hand over the session to Leila or Ian Jor.
Okay. So before the speaker comes back, I just wanted to clarify on the school emails. apparently we have school emails as more university students, but kuna venye watu wajui. So your school emails, kama you are a student of Mo, is something like registration number, then students at mu.ac.ke. I will leave a small presentation PDF to show you how you can access your student emails. And so earlier before nilikuwa nimetuma a file on how to get that 6 months free of front-end masters. As you know, those who are undertaking the DSC mentorship program will be using front-end masters for our web dev track, and the bootcamp is free, and the beginners, the newbies, using that the bootcamp. Then for the intermediates, I sent out a small presentation how you can follow through your 6 months free into front-end master using GitHub education. So if you have accessing it, or if you have trouble with the student's email, please reach out to me. And before you continue, make sure after you've recovered your student's email, make sure on your GitHub emails, make sure to add your student email, and make sure it's verified before redeeming your part. So I will now give it to Cliff Ochieno to continue with the presentation. Clifford.
Okay, thank you, Ian, for the clarification on the student emails. So I think there's a problem with the connection with our speaker, but I think I had the slides. So maybe I'll explain a little bit on the part he had left. So let me share my screen. So I think he had explained about Git and GitHub, and that was the last part. I think we had done all that. I think on the merge conflict resolve. So we were looking at Git and GitHub. And I think the last part we had done, I think he was explaining about the practical session. So I think earlier before, we had released a guide on getting started with GitHub. We had talked about the account creation and installing the Git CLI. So I think the basic Git commands, I don't know what he had practiced. I don't know what he had set up for the session, but I think we might later on release a guide on doing the basic Git commands on the practical part. And I think he was talking about the GitHub walkthrough without basic Git commands. So I think he was talking about the other thing he had was centralized versus distributed version control system. So, and I think out there we have the repository and the working copy. Like we have the working station 1 and working station 2. Then in the other part, we had the where we had a repo with other repositories which were being pushed and pull requests to the main branch. And then we had 2 working copies, which were working station 1 and working station 2. So I'm not sure what he had planned for the practical session, but I think we'll get back to him. I think it's the internet connection was the problem, but I think basically he had planned something on the best practices for Git, for using Git and GitHub. And he was talking about commit related changes. So basically commits are like messages you make while pushing your changes. So maybe like I can explain, like maybe you have some code on GitHub, you've uploaded it, you have it locally on your computer. So like Git is the version control system. So as you make your changes, you give it a commit. And the commit, basically, it's like a short statement explaining what you are changing so as to keep track of the different versions. So I think what he was talking about is when fixing 2 bugs, you write 2 separate commits. Like maybe if you're fixing something on responsiveness, you can say added more on the responsiveness. And he was also saying that we do small commits that are easy to understand, easy to roll back, and have less conflict. I think those are all about the commit related changes. Then I think the next thing is commit and to update often. I think I'd say that you make commits that are easy to understand, because taking the factor that other people will be looking at your code on GitHub, it's easier, it's good to make commits that are easier to understand, so that as people follow up on your code, they can know why you made these changes and they can understand it easily. And I think do not commit. One thing you're saying is do not commit broken code. So you review your code before you commit it, and you check on your changes so that you do not commit anything that's broken. Also, do not commit something that is half done. You split the large task. Like if you are redesigning a UI, you can split it into small tasks. Like maybe you're fixing something on the navigation bar. You can design something on the input button. You break it into small parts, small chunks that you can make easy commits on, and it's easier to follow up. Then do not commit untested work. Test your code before committing it, so as to ensure that you commit the right things. Then I think, okay, he's also talking about making good commit messages. For every commit that you make, you write a message, and the message must be very descriptive on what changes you made. So I think he had an example here. There's the comment, then the date, then created the main loop and timing control, enabled config file passing. Like these are examples of comments, commit messages that have been given and the time that they were made. So as you can see, like these are not good commits. Like and those ones, they do not make sense. So when someone is following up on your code, they might not understand on why you made these changes and why these commits are necessary and what changes you made. Then I think he was quoting something from Peter Hatterer. It says, a diff will tell you what changed, but only the commit message can properly tell you why. So like I was saying, the commit message should be very descriptive on what and why you're making some certain changes. So as to people to know the difference, the diff will tell you what was changed, but the commit message will tell you why the person changed it, maybe to fix a certain bug, to fix a certain issue. So that's why we mostly stress on writing good commit messages. So I think he had something on generally accepted rules. Okay, so he was saying the first line is the subject, then there's the 50-character limit, then separate subject from the body in a new line. I think this was much on the commit messages. I'm not sure what he was meaning here. Then he has examples of commit messages, like refactor subsystem X for readability, so someone can know they refactor the system and why for easier readability. Then updated getting started on documentation, meaning they updated the documentation, which was called getting started. Removed deprecated methods, meaning there were methods that maybe were outdated and the person removed them. Then released a new version and maybe merged pull requests. Then this is the hash code from user branch. Then I think that was the end of his presentation. But basically what I can say is that I think there were problems with his connection and we apologize for that. But I think what we can do, we can make a follow-up on him and maybe create like a small document, maybe to put into practice what you've learned that can help you practice the basic Git commands, maybe create branches. You can maybe make pull requests to some of our repositories. And I think basically we'll organize that with Ian. Maybe Ian can add more to that. Ian? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there, Cliff. Nanipata?
Yeah, I get you. So I think we would like to apologize. Okay, you can take over, Ian.
Okay, on behalf of our facilitator, we would like to apologize. I may encounter some technical issues, and it's part of living in Africa. Our internet is not that good, so we will do a small presentation PDF file with all the details and information from this session, and more from what the facilitator alikuwa amepanga will send out to you guys. And this session is recorded. For those who did not join, it will be uploaded on YouTube. So I want to jump to Q&A because we still have Kelvin on the line. I want to make use of Kelvin. Kama atanikubalia, atatujibia maswali. Kelvin, are you in?
Can you repeat, please?
Okay, I want to make use of you because you're still on the line to tackle our questions and answers. And okay. The first question is from George. Is asking, why do we always use the master branch as the base of the branch?
Okay, so I can answer you. So I can answer you that, George. So basically, when you're working with Git, it brings in the as the speaker was saying, it brings in the aspect of like distributing your work. So George has asked a very good question that is basically the basis of Git. So I want you to imagine that you are working on a product, all the 18 attendees here, and I'm the product manager. So I'm the one who decides that, Ian, the buttons that you designed, they fit to what we agreed as per our designer. So everybody has a different task. So what happens is that at the same time, we can be working on different things. So for example, if Ian is working on login, then Clifford is working on sign up. Login depends on sign up, but Ian can work on login knowing what Clifford is doing on sign up, and I still can merge Ian's work before Clifford is done. If Clifford, we need to give him more feedback, maybe he went out of the design and all that. So what usually happens is Ian can create a branch. So in most cases, we will work with a tool for writing software, for collaboration, for example, Jira. So there's usually the concept of features, bugs. So Ian will be working on a feature that is called login. So you will create a branch. So you create a branch by basically saying, okay, I think we'll have a session on that. Let me just say Ian will create a branch. So by creating a branch, what that means is that when you started a project, you decided that this is what customers will be viewing. So when I create a branch and I say that I want to merge it, so I want to work on something, I want to work on login, I'm going to base my branch on what is existing. So everything that we currently have will be in my new branch. Then I'm going to add my code there. So once I've added the code that is needed there, then I can now request feedback from developers. I can raise something that we call a pull request. An humble way of telling developers that we need feedback on this. So once that is done, then it's merged to master. So if, for example, I can give you a very good example. The other day, Facebook launched its a very good theme. Even LinkedIn launched a very good theme. So, and it happened like you are logged in LinkedIn like an hour ago. Then coming later, you find out a very completely new theme. So what happened is that everything that was on the LinkedIn theme before was in their master branch. So you can assume that was their master branch. Then the designer was like, this theme looks bad, we need to create a new one. So a developer was assigned that task. He created a branch with all the existing code from their master one. Then he updated the theme. So once the program manager, everybody was okay with that change, what they just did is that they merged that code to the master branch, and then we as customers were able to see the recent changes. So they could have been working for 6 months on that without anybody knowing. If there's a bug, they just fix the bug on master. Then once everything is okay on their other branch, they just merge it together. Yeah. So any other question? Sijui kama I've answered your question, George. If you need more clarification, you can ask another question there.
Okay, I think George amepata an idea. So if you have any question, please acha kwa DM, kwa the messages here, and Kelvin will be here to kujibu. So Kelvin, I have a question about GitHub CLI. I just saw it announced the other day. What is it, and should I bother?
Okay, so I haven't touched the GitHub CLI yet, but it's because I'm just a terminal fan. So I haven't touched the GitHub CLI, but I guess it's just a command line interface for GitHub, which is more of what you have. So if you are comfortable working with the terminal, then everything is okay. So because it's going to be the same type of commands. So I haven't worked with GitHub CLI yet, so I might not give you like from an experience perspective, but I can tell that like there's nothing that is changing. They're just improving the experience better for people maybe who are not fan of going the traditional terminal way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kelvin. Now I think there are no more questions, so I'll give Kelvin just a minute to give his parting shots. Then I will give Ivy the chance to make closing remarks. Kelvin?
Okay. So for me, what I just want to say is that you guys are on a good track, and you are in safe hands. So you can just continue with what you're doing. You're going to see the fruits. So we've been also leading like a community, same inspired by students at JQuat, and it has been like a very, I can say, like eye-opening experience. If you go to like a place like Microsoft offices in Nairobi, for example, you will find a lot of students working there from JQuat or from mostly JQuat and the UN. And if you ask them how they got there, it's surely their personal initiative, but it's mostly the community that introduces them. So I think this is like the first time that there's like a tech community that is this serious in Moi, and it's a good thing, because now what that means is that by the time, because what usually happens is when you finish school, when you go to like your final internship is when you realize a lot that you had to know. So, but for now, if like you form this community that you guys are having, then I think in terms of employability, and even like you guys maybe starting your own companies and ensuring that you have the right skills by the time you reach third year, you will be on track. So for me, I'm just like, I was invited by Ivy, and I appreciate the initiative that you guys are taking. And I know that nobody's getting paid, which is a good thing, especially coming from students. So keep up. So in case you need any help to set up events, you need to set up an event and you need maybe some financial support or swag, then you can reach out. We can see what we can do and probably make your events a success. So that is open to anybody. Also, you can apply to be a GitHub Campus Expert. It's quite a process, but then you will get at the end of it. So you can apply. In case maybe you need some reference, you can just reach out to me. Then I will ensure that I'll tell our PM to prioritize the application. Yeah, so I think that is it from me. me. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you, Kelvin. Let me thank you to everyone who turned up. I see you have been, almost all of you have been throughout. Big thank you to our facilitator of day, Bernard Kungu, although on my left. A big thank you to Kelvin for being part of this program, and some goodies to our mentees. To Brian and Karen, congratulations. Keep doing good. Keep doing good. Keep learning. Keep developing. So after this session, our week 1 mentorship program is coming to an end, and after every week we'll have a small task to each and every one of you. So make sure you refresh your mail. There is an invitation to GitHub organization, DSC MOI. There is we will be using GitHub Classroom to facilitate our tasks. So make sure to check your mail to ensure that you join the organization. If there is nothing on your mail, please reach out to the team, and we will be in touch with you. So starting from today evening, your tasks shall be rolling, and we wish that you offer your collaboration at the fullest. So thank you all for showing up. I will now give Ivy to.
Okay, thank you, Ian.
The session.
Okay. Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Kelvin, for attending on today's session and for your support and swags. And definitely we'll reach out to you. We need financial support and food, because I know you're really good at providing food. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for attending and participating in today's session. And also congrats to our winners, our best mentees this week. So the rest of us, you can push harder and be the best mentees next week, and maybe we will get someone else awarding us. So yeah, thank you for attending and thank you for being here. So have a lovely evening and see you guys next time. Bye.